Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shrutismriti Purananamalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Ashvattha Sarva Vrikshanam Devarshīnaṁ ca Naradaha Gandharvānaṁ Chitrarathaha Siddhānaṁ Kapilo Munihi. This is the Vibhuti Yoga. And so I welcome all of you, the first and third Sunday Gita students, to this class and also to the next class where we will do a verse from Aparokshanubhuti. Okay? I want you to have a taste of a different text also. It so happens, a nice coincidence, that the Aparokshanubhuti verse that we are discussing in the ongoing course is very close to Gita, that particular verse. So in a way, it becomes, the text is different, but the vision is the same. So both classes can be construed as Gita classes only. You are welcome to all that. Then we are in the Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti is the effulgent manifestation. You see, these things, the real has no name and no form. The real is nameless and formless. But our mind and our senses are accustomed to perceiving and also conceiving the names and forms. In a way, we are addicted to names and forms, to the extent that we visualize a name and form to God, who is essentially nameless and formless. So that is how our mind works. And a point comes when we are so much overwhelmed by the attachment to the name and form that we forget the real. We are stuck with the name and form in a way. That is how human mind works. It is unfortunate, and you have to learn to see through the names and forms and arrive at the real, which is reflecting in all these names and forms. But it is not enough that it is reflecting. It is essential that you should recognize it. You should discover it. We have a rule, avidito devo nainam bhunakti. Devaha, Ishvaraha is always with you, but you do not know. Aviditaha remains unknown to you. He is in you, but remains unknown. Enam na bhunakti. Bhunakti means palayati. So, bhuja abhyavahara palanayoh. So he won't protect you. The God that is in you, but you fail to recognize the God in you, that God doesn't protect you. Once you recognize the God in you, you will gain the protection from the God. So you have to recognize. And if you are so overwhelmed by the name and form, the recognition of the real becomes untenable, because name and form are unreal. Only their importance only to the extent that they reflect the real, only to that extent. And therefore, if you make the name and form a conduit to the real, you are doing well. But if you are mesmerized by the name and form and forget the real, then it is a misfortune. Therefore, the name and form and your attachment to the name and form can take you upwards or can bring you downwards also. It is like the ladder The ladder that takes you upwards can bring you downwards also. That is a digression. So in all these names and forms, the real is reflecting. And in that reflection, suddenly at one place, there are multiple reflections, At one place, the reflection is very effulgent. That is called vibhutihi. Like in this hall, there are so many bulbs in which electricity is reflecting. Can we take it like that? Do you have a problem with that? Good. So many bulbs in which electricity is reflecting. But there is one bulb which is sitting exactly opposite me, in which it is reflecting so fiercely that I am afraid of that bulb. So I will be glad if somebody can put off these 4 bulbs, because they hurt the eyes. The vibhuti is too much. So that is called vibhuti. Now you know. Don't bother. It's okay. I'll manage. Therefore, so the glory of God is in every atom. It is there. So anushaha, kanashaha, kshanashashchaiva. In every particle, there is the glory of God. And in every moment, there is the glory of the God. But in some places, in some names, some namarupas, the reflection is so glorious that you pay attention to them. So such a glorious reflection is called vibhutihi. Bhutihi bhavanam, the being, presence. Bhutihi is presence. Vibhutihi, visheshat bhavanam, very overwhelming presence that you can never ignore, that draws your attention very forcibly. That is called vibhutihi. You see, once I was traveling in Himalayas, and then suddenly I was carrying a backpack and just going on the trail. So there was some stream or a creek. There is a bridge. About to cross that bridge, then suddenly I noticed something is there. What is that something? I looked to this side. There is a mountain peak. I did not notice it. I noticed it suddenly. And it is soaring and soaring and soaring into the sky. I could not see its top. Such a presence, a stunning presence. It stuns you. That kind of a presence, that is called vibhuti. Normally they say hill. So here also they say development. It is called such and such hill development. I look around for hill. There is no hill. But they call it hill. Means maybe a little bump-like thing is there, and therefore they give a name to it and call it hill, and then make it popular that way. Whereas you don't see any hill. Whereas here, you don't call it hill. What to call it, I don't know. But such a stunning presence it is. That is called vibhutihi, visheshena, bhutihi, bhavanam. All these words come from bhu sattayam. Wherever you see bhu, that is sattayam, bhu sattayam. That is the dhatu from bhavadi gana. There is another dhatu, bhu praptau. That is also there. In some other gana, it is there. Maybe 9th gana or whatever. So, but that is not so popular. Bhu, in Sanskrit, bhu. In English, be. Got it? In Sanskrit also they made it boo. Very sad, as if the influence of English, instead of calling bhu, they say boo. So if you say boo, then boo is very close to be, shambho, swayambho, chambu, like that. Very unfortunate, you know. You have to pronounce with some energy from here. You pronounce Mahapranavarnas properly, you don't need to visit any pulmonologist. That is how we believe. And so we pronounce the Mahapranavarnas well. That is how we are. So that is how we were trained probably. Therefore, bhu it is. So vibhutihi. Now there are trees. Every tree is a reflection of the glory of God. Every tree. And when you see tree, any tree, you should recollect the glory of meditation, because the tree is a meditator. It just meditates. It stands tall, upright, and it endures the surroundings, the weather, etc. Sometimes the weather is very hot, like in tropical countries. Like in India, when I see the trees in summer, my heart aches. Ayo papam, these trees are standing there. They cannot escape from the sun to the shade. They are totally exposed to the sun. And they survive the summer. They survive, I tell you. They survive. How do they survive? That is the glory of life. They survive the summer, and then the rain comes. I think that brings new life into those trees. They are almost 95% dead. Then the monsoon comes and everything comes alive. So that tree, it endures the summer and then it endures the winter. In this country, the trees, they prepare. Now in September, in October, they start preparing for the winter. And they turn color, they change the colors, they get rid of all chlorophyll. And that is how the green leaves become yellow, red, and all shades of colors. They are allowing the chlorophyll to be lost, because now chlorophyll is not that important. Chlorophyll is important in summer, not in winter. So in winter it is important to survive. If all the leaves are kept, they will not survive, because the leaves hold on to a lot of snow, and that becomes a huge burden, and the tree breaks under the weight of the accumulated snow on the leaves. And therefore, in preparation for the upcoming winter, they shed all their leaves. There is life in them, just they hang on to the dear life. All these trees, they look as if they are dead, but they are not dead, they are hanging on to the life. Then once the winter is over, now you have to see the glory of life. The entire tree has sprouts, tender leaves. The entire tree. It is that you must have seen such a tree with thousands and thousands of tender shoots in every branch. So that the tree presents a wonderful sight before us. It's a joy to the heart. That is the glory of the life, cosmic life. So thus, every tree is a reflection of God's glory. God is cosmic life. God is two things, cosmic life and cosmic intelligence. That is how you have to think of God. That is the way you have to relate to God. You don't need, if you relate to God as cosmic life, you don't need a loka or a heaven where to keep this God sitting there. You don't need that loka. You needed that loka because you have taken out God from the nature and converted the God into a person like you and put somewhere else. This is called a theocratical God who requires a place to live like you and me. We need a place to live. They ask in this country, they ask, where do you make living, sir? Like that they ask. Then the person, I make my living in Florida. That is what he says. The same thing applies to God also. So God makes his living in Kailasa or Vaikuntha. So I suppose leave it at that. Therefore, you have to learn to relate to God in life, which is cosmic in nature, means all-pervading, and intelligence, which is there everywhere. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan atma guhayan nihitosya janto. So anoha aniyan, in the smallest particle, there is God. In the biggest galaxy, there is the glory of God. Hydrogen atom. What a glorious atom it is. One proton, one electron. That is the hydrogen atom. Two of them come together, makes a hydrogen gas. And now today the whole world is looking up to hydrogen gas as an alternative to fossil fuels. Do you know in Delhi, hydrogen buses are going around taking passengers? Did you take note of that? Green hydrogen. The hydrogen which is made without producing any carbon dioxide output. That is called green hydrogen. So they make hydrogen without creating any pollution of carbon dioxide, and so that is the hydrogen. Okay, and that if you start from methane, then you get hydrogen, but also carbon dioxide. That is not green hydrogen. They make green hydrogen by a method which I am not very sure about it at present, I forgot. And so, using that, they are running a bus. Buses are plying all around Delhi with green hydrogen. India. And our transport minister says green hydrogen is going to be a very big thing in the coming years. By 2030, there will be no fossil fuel cars on the roads in India. All cars will be either run by electricity or by hydrogen. Look at hydrogen. Huh? Can anybody believe? People are enamored by gold. What is gold? Before hydrogen, gold is nothing. Hydrogen has all the glory. Anoraniyan, smallest of the atoms, and then biggest of the galaxies. The entire range is covered by the glory of God. And that is the cosmic intelligence. There is intelligence in the hydrogen atom. Now you say hydrogen atom is lifeless. Now, suppose there is a tremendous intelligence in it. You still call it lifeless? No, you don't call it lifeless. When you look at its intelligence, oh my God, you bow your head in devotion, in reverence. You don't call it lifeless. There is life in it. There is intelligence in it. That is anoraniyan. We don't divide the nature into living and non-living. We don't divide like that. We do not look at matter as dead matter. We don't look at it like that. We look at matter as the matter is the consciousness which has forgotten itself. That is what matter is. How is that? The consciousness that has forgotten itself is the matter. So, means even matter is no different from the cosmic intelligence. Okay? So, therefore, that is the glory of, that is how you have to relate to God. Relate to God as life, cosmic, and intelligence, cosmic. Then you see the glory of God, anoraniyan. In every particle of this creation, you can see the glory of God. And in every star, planet, star, and galaxy, the big ones, there also you can see the glory of God. That is the way you have to relate to God. In doing so, you come across a tree. Okay? And the Rishi says, so vraksha iva stabdho divitisthati. That is the illustration for a meditator. The tree stands tall, all alone, enduring the surroundings, pleasant or painful, doesn't matter. It endures. And the tree is meditating. And when I see the tree, I get inspired to meditate. Stand there, close the eyes and meditate. That is the kind of inspiration which a tree gives. Tree is a glorious expression of God's Godhead. Glorious, I said. Otherwise, I would have said God's glory. But then glorious, I already said. Therefore, I say Godhead. The glorious expression of the Godhead. The nameless and formless reality which is God. That is the tree. And then all trees are expressions of God, the glory of God, all trees. But in particular, Ashwatha, the people tree, expresses the glory of God all the more prominently. That's why every tree is an expression of God's glory, whereas Ashwatha, the people tree, becomes a particularly glorious expression of God's effulgence. Sarva Vrikshanam Shashti Bahuvachanam Nirdharana Shashti means Sarva Vrikshanam Madhye. Among all the trees, the most glorious tree, the people tree, I am that people tree. That is what Sri Krishna is saying. Ashwatha Sarva Vrikshanam. In Rigveda, 2 trees are called Mahavruksha. Only 2. In Dvivachanam, it comes in Dvivachanam. Mahavruksha. In Rigveda, even when you say Mahavruksha, it means Mahavruksha. Out, Lopa, they allow. Okay? Ta Surya Chandramasa Vishwabhruttama Mahat. Like that there is a mantra. There Ta is Tau. Surya Chandramasa is Surya Chandramasau. Vishwabhruttama is Vishwabhruttamau. Mahat is Mahantau. All the way out disappears in certain expressions. Out is the suffix, So similarly, Mahavruksha is Mahavrukshau, the 2 great trees. What are they? The people and the banyan. They are the 2 great trees. That is how Rigveda characterizes. It considers all the trees of this creation. So many trees are there, so many kinds of trees, but 2 of them get a special status as the great trees. Like in Vedanta, Mahavakya, 4 of them, the great sentences. Small sentences, Tattvamasi, but it is a Mahavakya, a great sentence. Similarly, Mahavrukshav, the great trees. So people and banyan, they both belong to the same class. In botany, there is a branch of botany called taxonomy, in which they give a nomenclature for the tree. They have to make a distinction between one kind of tree and another kind of tree. And so many trees belong to the same class. And within the class, there are a variety of trees. They all should get a name. Therefore, the class name and the individual tree name. So every tree is denoted by 2 words. Like we also do like that. First name, last name. 2 words. Middle name is not so important. You can put an initial there. Sometimes people don't even have middle name. In India, I don't have a middle name. Here I have. So first name, last name. Similarly, in botany, all these trees are given a name which has the first name and also the last name. Here, the first name is the class, the genus, I suppose. That is the first name. So these 2 great trees belong to the same class. And the class is ficus, F-I-C-U-S. All of you must be knowing it, ficus. And then people is given the name religiosa. Ficus religiosa. What is this religiosa? Because somebody came, these botanists, the taxonomists, they were touring India and examining all kinds of botanical species that are there in the tropical climate. And they found the people in the country worshipping this particular tree as God. You go anywhere in India, if you see a people tree, you will find colored threads wound around it, and at the base you will find a small vessel with oil and wick. So put a light there, they light a lamp there. And also you will find the turmeric, not turmeric, turmeric only, turmeric, and also some dye they add to that to make it kunkuma. Kunkuma is turmeric only. Some silly, useless dye they add to it and make it look red because they want red. They don't like yellow. They are not satisfied with yellow. They want red. Because yellow, they are looking at blood. That is what they are looking at. And so yellow doesn't give the sense of blood. Therefore, put a red dye to the yellow. Turmeric is an important thing, healthy also, for good for health also. All the people know about turmeric. And you see, in Texas, they wanted to take a patent on turmeric. In Texas, university people. Then CSIR is there in India, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi. They filed a petition in America saying that you cannot take patent on turmeric, we should take it, not you. And can you believe it? They won the petition. And therefore the patent was not granted. The turmeric patent is with India only now, with CSIR. They have the turmeric patent. Turmeric has many useful ingredients which can cure a few diseases here and there. So people have a value for turmeric for that reason. But in the religious context, they consider turmeric valuable because of some conceived religious importance. Of course, it is valuable from the therapeutic point of view, but the religion and therapy go together, you know. All the Ayurveda people, they come with the religious dressing and all that. You must have known that. They go together. So part religion, part science. That is how Ayurveda it is. They made it Veda. Veda is religion. Ayuhu is the therapy. So it is Veda and therapy. Means a nice mix of religion and science. Sometimes not so nice also, but it is a mix, whatever it is. Therefore, this turmeric is like that. It is scientifically important, having a therapeutic effect, and also religiously important. That is turmeric. Why I am saying about turmeric? My topic is not turmeric. But anyway, before, at the base of a peepal tree, you have the turmeric and some dye added to that and all that. That dye, people should think about it. It may not be a good dye all the time. All harmful dyes they employ. In this country, there is some overseeing authority for all these food colors and other colors, which people come in contact with. Because these colors, particularly organic compounds, they can be very dangerous. So some of these colors which were used in textile industry were later banned. And some of the colors which were used for painting the buildings, etc., are banned because they cause problems to the health. And so those people who employ this kunkuma, they should examine what kind of color it is. Is it a good color or not? So, you see, in organic chemistry, there is a reaction called Perkin's reaction. Perkin is a British chemist. He made that reaction. He discovered that reaction and produced dyes, dye dyes, which are called azo dyes. Azo is a chemical name. And he was the first one to produce them. Then it took off the imagination of the people, and the people started producing dyes, azo dyes. Then they found after a few years that these azo dyes, very brilliant colors, but they are toxic also. And nowadays, Perkin's reaction is only in textbooks. Nobody performs them in the laboratory also, because the azo dyes are not good for health. So what kind of a dye they are using in the kunkuma, people have to examine it. Okay, that is all digression. Coming back to the point, you find a lot of turmeric powder and also this kunkuma, I don't know how to translate it, turmeric with a red dye. Okay, all this is used as a thing of worship. They worship with kunkuma. Somebody started in 15th century or 16th, you worship with flower, I can understand. You worship with kumkum also. Why do you worship with kumkum? Somebody started, and so it became popular. That somebody is called original mischief makers. Okay? Because there is no point in it. They will beat me one of these days in some corner for saying these things. But anyway, therefore, that is how they worship the tree. They worship the tree. They go around the tree. And in Rishikesh, where this tree is there in our ashram, a building is adjoining the tree, and while making the building, our Swamiji took care to keep a small gap so that people can easily go around it. Otherwise, he can gain another foot space to the hall by putting the walls close to the tree. But if he does that, people will not have a way of going around the tree, but they have to go around the tree. So this is what this scientist has observed, the taxonomist has observed, and so he decided to name it Ficus religiosa. In the yearly botanical congress, the name is proposed and approved. The congress has to approve. There is a congress for nomenclature. In every science it is there. In chemistry also it is there. It is called IUPAC, International Union of Chemistry or whatever. So that is a accepted nomenclature. Ashwatha. Today this lesson is only about Ashwatha, okay? That is I don't have the allergy to go further today. Only Ashwatha is in today's class. And afterwards you can go and have a cup of tea. So this is the tree, a tea, Ashwatha, Ficus religiosa. Why? Why it is so great? Why Bhagavan mentions it as his glory? All trees are glory, no doubt about it. But Ashwatha is particularly great. Why? There are reasons for it. I told you one reason, that the Rigveda classifies it as one of the two great trees, the other being banyan. Banyan is called ficus, same class, same genre, bengalensis. You can see Bengal. So Bengal has some of the biggest ficus banyan trees, and therefore the name was proposed in the Botanical Congress and it is approved. Now the banyan tree is called in science, botany, as Ficus bengalensis. These are the Mahavruksha. Therefore, Sri Krishna talks of one of those two Mahavrukshas, saying that is his glory, Ashwatha Sarva Vrukshanam. There Ahamasmi comes among all the trees. The Shashti Vibhakti means among. Among all the trees, Sarva Vrukshanam, Ashwatha Ahamasmi. That is the meaning of it. I am the Ficus religiosa tree. What is so great about Ficus religiosa? So I have a small account of this tree. So please don't think that I am reading from some book. This book happens to be my book only. Therefore I have a right to quote from that book. Instead of pulling out from the head, I have to tax the brain cells. Instead of that, I have brought the book itself so that I need not tax the brain cells so much. I can have the luxury of putting the information before you from the book. So it says, why it is glorious tree. People is a very large tree with spreading branches. A bit scientific description, please bear with it. It is aptly called, described in Vedas as Mahavruksha, the great tree. It is the most revered tree in the Hindu society. People not only worship it on special occasions, but salute it at its mere sight. We were going in the childhood, we were going by bicycle to movie, we are running to the movie, but suddenly we see the Ashwatha, we get down and do namaskar and then move on. So I have put that sentence from personal experience also. And then in Gita, Sri Krishna compares this universe with paper tree. Urdhvamola madhasyakham ashwatham prahuravyayam. There, Ashwatha is not the tree. It is only a metaphor. You should not take it as a tree, real tree. It is not real tree. This samsara is the tree, means tree-like. You got the metaphor, you should know. Because some of the gurus of the world, some of them, not all, they don't understand that it is a metaphor. And therefore, they are searching for a tree which is upside down. The appended tree. You don't find it anywhere. But I can show a tree which is appended. Shall I show the tree which is appended? Shall I show? You are that tree. Urdhvamulam adhashyakam. You are the appended tree. Really? No, it is samsara. You are the samsara, you know. So the tree Ashwatha is used there for comparison, for the samsara. And it comes from Kathopanishad really. Urdhvamulo vakshakha eshoshvatha sanatanaha. That is the Kathopanishad. Gita, it borrows from Kathopanishad. Kathanishavasya. The entire Gita is inspired by Kathopanishad and Ishavasya, two Upanishads. A few other things, Chandogya is there in a small way, but these two Upanishads are everywhere. Particularly Katha, because the verse itself is quoted from Katha. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha nahanyate hanyamane sharire, that is the second line. Then the first line, kadachit, etc. That is a direct quote from Kathopanishad, except for one word here and there. So that is the influence of Kathopanishad on Gita. Okay? So Kathopanishad is prior to Gita. Okay? Therefore, that Kathopanishad mantra, Urdhvamulo vakshakha eshoshvatha sanatanaha, that finds a mention in Gita itself. So Urdhvamula madhashyakam. So if I start reading further, you will all remember lunch. Urdhvamula madhashyakam means lunch time. It has to wait for 1 more hour. So Ashwatha sarva vrukshanam. Then there is a Vedic ritual in which it is called Rashtrabhrudhoma, in which the fagots of the Ashwatha, the maple tree, are used. And also a number of other fagots are used. So the priests pray to the maple tree to the effect that one lives 100 years with good health by virtue of using the maple wood. Shatanjivema Sharadas Saviraha. So Saviraha Putra Bhrutya Sahitaha. Our children and people who work with us, what they call in India servants. So they all should live happily with the glory, with the blessings of the Ashwatha tree, the maple tree. So the maple tree is described in the Veda as Chitriya. Chitriya dashvathat sambhruta bruhatyaha. So Chitriya means it's a landmark for every village in India, at least in South India. Why South India? In North India also. A village, at the entrance of the village, where the main road you take an exit, go to the village, right? At that exit, which takes you to the village, you will find a maple tree. And people say, so I have to go to that village, how should I go, sir? If you are say, going by cycle or walk, you ask somebody. Then they will say, you go this way, after a half a mile, you will find a maple tree. That is the landmark. That is where you take exit and you go to the village. So this is how the maple tree has acquired the status of a landmark in the rural landscape of India. That is how the Veda describes Chitriya, that is Grama Tadagadi Chinna Bhutaha Prasiddhaha Ashwathaha Chitriyaha. That is the description. Then it's okay, all of that is religious and cultural significance of the Ashwatha tree. Now some scientific significance of the Ashwatha tree. It is worth noting. It is well known. Now I am reading from it. Very easy for you. It is well known that plants absorb carbon dioxide of the atmosphere, assimilate it with the use of photosynthesis, and release oxygen which in turn sustains all fauna on earth. I'm saying fauna, maybe it should be said fauna, whatever. Fauna is okay. This photosynthesis begins at sunrise and ends at sunset. The amount of oxygen released by a tree, trees are compared by someone as oxygen factories. Just to put a tree there, it produces oxygen, which we all consume and live. Not only us, all other life forms also. So the amount of oxygen released by a tree is in direct proportion to the light absorbed by that tree. Okay? Got it? Oxygen is produced only by the leaves and green stalks of the tree. Okay, that is general information about the tree. Sarva Vrukshanam. Now coming to Ashwatha, a scientist by name Rabideau, that is his name, Rabideau et al. They say et al., you know, have shown that in the leaves of ficus species, the absorption of incident light is 80 to 90%, and the reflection is 10 to 20%. So sunlight falls, 80% is absorbed, means 20% is reflected back. 90% absorbed, only 10% is reflected back. Whereas in other species which they examined a number of other species, for example, Brassica and Lactuca. Those species they have examined, the absorption of light varied between 20 and 60%. You see the difference? The light is absorbed to 20 to 60% in all these trees, whereas in Ashwatha it is 80 to 90%. You know the solar panels are there. Do you know the efficiency of the solar panels? It began with 15%, 15%. Means out of the sunlight, the total sunlight that falls upon the solar panel, all of that is energy only 15% is converted to electricity. That is the efficiency. That is how the solar panels have started. But they constantly work on it to increase the efficiency. Now, if I know correctly, the other day I was reading about it, the efficiency has reached 30%. And that is considered the best. Solar panels absorb 30% of sunlight, which is considered very, very good percentage, very economical, produces a lot of electricity, and it is economically viable with 30% absorption. Suppose they absorb 50%, then the entire world becomes a solar energy, I tell you. So absorption of the sunlight is plentiful, but something has to absorb it and convert it to electricity. So if the absorption of solar panels maximum 30%, then you look at the Ashwatha tree, it absorbs 80 to 90% of sunlight. Thus, the peepal tree performs the photosynthesis to a degree which surpasses many other trees. In this way, the environs of a peepal tree are enriched in oxygen, and the content of carbon dioxide is reduced around the peepal tree. People who live in such environs are bound to live longer with good health. In Andhra Pradesh, there is a village in which the main street is lined on both sides with peepal trees, main street. And it is said that the people who have houses on this side of the road and that side of the road, their people lived longer because of this atmosphere provided by peepal trees. In Hyderabad, there is an institute called American Institute of Oncology. Some of you must be knowing it. It's a big medical place, corporate hospital, particularly cancer. Other departments also could be there. I visited the place one time because one of the directors was known to me very well. So what they have done is, they have done a great thing. They have put on the avenue trees will be there, you know, the roads are lined on either side by Ashwatha trees. So they have done a great job that way. I have a feeling they have done a very wise thing that helps the patients in multiple ways. Naturally, you inhale air which is enriched with oxygen naturally. So that increases the amount of oxygen that you absorb in the lungs. The lungs are also made much better, and the heart also gets benefited, the brain gets benefited. Just like pranayama. In pranayama what happens? When you sit like this, the way I am sitting like an arc, the upper lobes are compressed downwards, upper lobes of the lungs. And the lower lobes are compressed upwards by the diaphragm. A big belly is sitting here. It pushes up through the diaphragm, the lower lobes of the lungs. And when you sit like this crouching, the shoulders put pressure and the upper lobes are pushed. And so the 10% upper and 10% lower will last. Only 80% efficiency of the lungs we are utilizing. On the other hand, if you sit like this, it makes a tremendous difference. You become more alert because of more oxygen. You see, people who go to Kailas Yatra, they see things, their devatas, etc. they see. You know the reason why? Because they have very less oxygen. That's why. Due to lack of adequate oxygen, the brain stops functioning, and therefore they see whatever they want to see. So it is all a bluff, I tell you. So this is the observation, and this is not some kind of a wild claim. No, it is a very scientific claim. Rabideau et al. The reference number is 5. G.S. Rabideau, C.S. French, and A.S. Holt, American Journal of Botany. 33 volume, page 769, 1946. So one can go to a library and reference. That is how I got it and put it here, the essence of it. So that is the glory of Ashwatha tree. This property of the people tree was remarkably anticipated by the Vedic sages when they praised the tree as ojas of the wind god. They said in one mantra, the description is, O Ashwatha, you are the power of the wind god. That is what it says. What does it mean? So they have anticipated somehow that Ashwatha environs are filled with lot of oxygen. And Shatam Jivema Sharadas Saviraha. That is the prayer to the tree. O tree, you are the power of the wind god, and because of your blessing, we live long. Shatam is 100, one may live more than 100 also. Some kind of an average index in those days, Shatam. So, not just living like a senile life, no. Sharadaha Shatanja Saviraha. We live happily with good health. Not only we, the parents, but also the children, and also the workers who are employed by the family. We all live happily for a long time. That is the prayer to Ashwatha tree, because the Ashwatha tree happens to be the ojas, the power of the wind god. That is how the prayer. Then I will say a few more things and then conclude probably. The tree contains alkaloids which are biologically active. Alkaloids are chemical substances, nitrogenous substances which have a lot of therapeutic value. Many medicines are alkaloid. Morphine is an alkaloid, for example. And all cannabinoids are alkaloids. And many other substances. Taxol, which is anti-cancer drug. I think that is also an alkaloid. I do not remember the structure exactly. So the alkaloids are present in Ashwatha. That itself shows all medicinal trees have alkaloids as an important constituent in their leaves, in their flowers, in their fruits, in their branches, bark, roots, everywhere. Then some more. The extract. Take Ashwatha leaves and fagots, make an extract, like in Ayurveda they do. Antagonizes spasmolytic effects of acetylcholine, histamine, barium chloride, and serotonin. All these chemicals, they cause a spasm. Acetylcholine is a small molecule, very important one. Histamine is also like that. Antihistamine drugs people take, Histamine is produced and it causes a lot of nuisance and nose block, skin rashes and all that. Barium chloride is a poisonous chemical. Serotonin is a brain chemical which is harmful in larger doses. And so these are the chemicals, 4 of them, which causes spasm. That is the spasmolytic effect. And ashwatha extract helps to overcome the spasmolytic effects of these 4 poisons. So, particularly, the cardiovascular effects of acetylcholine are very well stopped by the ashwatha extract. The ashwatha extract protected guinea pigs against acetylcholine and also against histamine-induced asthma. Histamine induces asthma. Acetylcholine, some of you must be knowing it very well. It's a chemical messenger from head to the heart. A small molecule. Acetylcholine is an organic substance which adversely affects the cardiovascular system. In this activity, it is comparable to 2 known poisons, nicotine and muscarine. Nicotine is an alkaloid, it is. The smoke, the nicotine is alkaloid, it is. And poison. Muscarine is also poison. These poisons cause fall of blood pressure due to vasodilation. It slows the heartbeat, these poisons, constricts the pupil and the bronchioles, causing asthmatic attack. This acetylcholine is very dangerous in some concentration. All these adverse effects are cured by people extract in animal experiments. That was written a long back. In the earlier birth it was written. When it was published, 1994 it was published, first edition. Barium chloride you must have heard. Barium chloride. Barium sulfate is not, they give barium meal for X-ray, which is barium sulfate. It is not poisonous. Why? Because it doesn't dissolve in water. That's why they give it as a meal, and it produces a white stream, and that is where it provides the background for the X-rays. Whereas barium chloride readily dissolves in water, and hence it is poisonous. So barium chloride is a highly toxic poison. It affects the digestive organ in small doses, but in large doses it is fatal. The ill effects of barium chloride are readily cured by people extract. Very interesting, The water extract of people, means you take some of the leaves and put in water, possesses good hypoglycemic activity in animal experiments. All these are scientifically recorded, taken from important journals. For example, this hypoglycemic activity thing comes from Wealth of India, Volume 4, page 38, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi. 76% potency as compared to talbutamide. Talbutamide is a medicine used for good hypoglycemic activity. Compared with that medicine, the people extract has 76% efficiency, which is useful drug in the therapy of diabetes. Talbutamide is used in diabetes. Thus, people tree possesses orally effective hypoglycemic agents. An aqueous extract of the bark shows antibacterial activity against Staphylococcus aureus and also E. coli. E. coli also, everybody knows these things. Leaves and tender shoots of the people are used in skin diseases. In 1973, some scientists of Brazil reported they are reported from Brazil. L.C. Moreira, C. Ferreira, etc. Reverend Institute of Antibiology, something like that. The anti-neoplastic action of some substances of plant origin against Ehrlich sarcoma, etc. And one of the trees which helped in these sarcomas is the paper tree. So this great tree has indeed got cancer curing potential. Chalo, that is something about the Ashwatthah. Now we can conclude it. Ashwatthah sarva vrikshanam. The Tikakara says interestingly, we have the trinity of gods, three gods for us, which is Puranic. In Veda we don't have three gods, only one God we have. But one God we divided into three, because we want a variety, So, in Ashwatha, three gods are sitting in the tree. At the base, Brahmadeva sits. In the middle, Vishnu sits. And in the top, Shiva sits. So, Molato Brahma Rupaya, Madhyato Vishnu Rupine, Agrata Shiva Rupaya, Vruksharajaya Te Namaha. Oh, great tree, my namaskar to you. Somebody made this verse. So, the science is not there, some belief system. It is converted into a belief system, very sad. Should have noted the scientific importance of the great tree instead of making it into simple belief. But then that is how the society functions. In India, religion is the mainstream, and therefore, so from the religion point of view, and of course from the science point of view also, the tree Ashwatha is a great tree, and one of the two great trees, and it has the glory of Bhagavan in it in full measure. Okay? Let us say, Ashwatha sarva vrikshanam devarshinaancha naradaha Gandharvanam chitrarathaha Siddhanam kapilo munihi. So the rest of the verse will be done on 21st of September, I suppose. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. (11:25)